Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got Beautifully Broken by Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll, real name Jason Bradley DeFord, 39 years old, from Nashville, Tennessee. This is going to be like his 20th studio album. Starting all the way back in 2011 was his first release that's on streaming anyway. Jelly Roll has made it a long way from what I understand he came from. With 19 million listeners on Spotify alone, Jelly Roll is obviously blowing up a lot more now. So respect to him for working as hard as he has, because just in 2020 alone, it looks like he dropped 3 studio albums just that year. So he's been really working hard, and obviously he has blown up over the last, let's say, year and a half, 2 years. Son of a Sinner, songs like that. He's been on the Eminem album. He's been on a few other people's albums, and he's a pretty prominent figure now in his respective lane of music. But this album is his most recent album since blowing up, I'd say. So 22 songs, an hour and 4 minutes. It's a lot of songs. It's a lot of music to listen to. If you are already, I'm sure he already has a lot of fans. I know he does have a big fan base just based off of his will to live, if you will. Obviously, he's had his substance abuse issues and things like that he talks about all the time. So I know he has his own fan base just based off that, which is great. But I'm sure he's gained a couple new fans these last couple months and year, just based off of the music. And even that speech he had at the CMAs or the VMAs, wherever he was, where he's like, the rear view mirror is smaller for a reason. I know he blew up a lot even just from that alone. So he seems like a cool guy, seems like a nice guy, and he's working hard. He's worked hard to get where he is right now. But to get into the album, again, 22 songs, an hour and 4 minutes long. I think off the rip that could have been cut by a decent amount. And to be transparent, I just saw that he released a deluxe album version, Beautifully Broken, Picking Up the Pieces, with another 6 songs. All right, I just spoke for another 10 maybe minutes, not 10, but all that footage, my phone stopped recording. But to get into the album, there's a few good songs. Burning is okay. Winning Streak, starting off, it's the lyrics are pretty okay, but the song itself is boring, I'd say. I'm Not Okay is the biggest song on the album. I think it's a little bit too boring and formulaic. The song with Wiz Khalifa, it kind of makes me mad. I don't think whatever he paid for Wiz Khalifa's verse, he did not get his money's worth. I'll say that. I don't think that was a very intentionally created song. I don't think that was good. Liar is good. I think Liar might be the best song on the album. The MGK song is okay. I think Born Again is good. I think Guilty is cool, and I think Woman is cool. There are a few moments on the album that are good, but again, with 22 songs and over an hour long, there's a lot of filler songs that are just, I don't think it needed to be on the album, especially with these 6 new songs from the deluxe album. I think you could have, one, had those on the album to begin with, because there are some big names, but 2, I think the first 3 on the deluxe are better than 3 of the songs that are on the regular album. So I just think there could have been some different decisions made that would have helped this album feel a little bit better. But to get into the grades for production, I gave it a 7.5. It's run of the mill. It gets the job done. There's no moment where I was like, this is really good, and there's no moment where I was like, this is really bad. It's simple. It's formulaic. It gets the job done. So 7.5, simple grade. For vocals and lyrics, I did give him a 4 for vocals. Could it have been a little bit more passionate? Yeah, but it's still his sound, it's still his voice, and he has a relatively good singing voice. For lyrics, though, I did give it a 3.25. I think with his core audience being who it is, and the core of his story being what it is, I think this is a lot of the same things being talked about in terms of just his recovery and his new life and his old life and things like that, which are all important to talk about and share. I just thought it was a little bit recycled and a little bit overused throughout the album as a writing point. For cohesion, I don't want to be a hater. I did give it a 9.5. there's nothing, it's almost too cohesive in that sense of talking about the same thing, but it would be just a hater moment of me to not give it a 9.5, because it's all about life and recovery and things like that. So I can't be a hater. 9.5. For originality, I did give it an 8. I don't think there's anything on this album that stood out to me crazy. I don't think there's too many, if not maybe 2, maybe 3 songs that are that I could go back to. But there's nothing that moved the needle in terms of recovery soundtracks. And I think again, it's nothing too special. So I gave it an 8 for originality. For quality and care, I gave it an 8.25. Again, I do think this is probably the most important time of his life. He's probably climbing upward, close to the peak, if not at the peak of his musical career. So it was an important time to put out an album. I think, one, from a business decision, you should have had the names on the deluxe onto the original, because you have Halsey, Keith Urban, Russ, Skylar Grey, MGK again, and Ernest. I think those are names that should have been on the original, just to maximize your impact and maximize your outreach of such an important album in your career. And then again, a few other themes. Just give me 1 or 2 other themes that we're talking about other than I'm not okay, it's gonna be all right. But it's not bad. It was important to make. And so obviously Jelly Roll does work. He does want to be where he is now. He did put a lot of work in to be where he is now. So you can't help but respect it. But with the 7.5, a 4, a 3.25, a 9.5, an 8, and an 8.25, that does put this album at an 81 B-. I think that's perfectly fair. You can still make the honor roll. Your parents aren't going to get mad at you, but nobody's going to be flexing that grade either. I think it's a safe album to release at this time. He didn't fail at any point, which is good. He didn't move the needle, but he did what he had to do to stay relevant and keep his fan base with him. So I got to respect him for that. But that's Beautifully Broken by Jelly Roll, and I'll catch you in the next one.